Hey everyone, this is Jimmy. He's a brand new Dead by Daylight player. Today we're going to discuss the journey he goes on when launching the game for the first time, up to thousands of hours of experience. An experience many can surely relate to. Let's look at the 10 stages of every DBD player. Stage 1. Like all players starting Dead by Daylight for the first time, they'll boot up the game and likely be a little confused about the intro cinematic and maybe even feel a slight faster pounding in their chest as they enter the game. Here's where they'll probably get a bit confused. The choice is between Survivor or Killer. Most will probably go Survivor, seeing that they'll have teammates to help them out. This place looks pretty scary, better get some backup. They'll likely completely overlook the tutorial and the inventory and perks and probably just about everything as they enter their first trial. They'll walk around the map a bit, seeing the sights of wherever they've ended up, cautiously walking around everywhere and keeping close by to any players they see. They'll hop on a gen and, oops, fail a skill check, no worries. Then they'll hear it for the first time, the terror radius. They'll quickly dart for the shadows, hiding behind whatever they can find. If a killer does find them, they'll panic and run into a wall probably, or simply try to run straight forward to get away. This experience will haunt them, and they'll spend their first few games following a similar pattern. Stay hidden, do the gens, do not get into chase. If you get hooked, always take chances. For now, they're just having fun with the game, and are maybe a little scarred by their experiences. Stage 2. This is the stage of discovery. Now that they've figured out the basics and understand what they need to do in the game, they start to look around the menus a bit more. What's that? They remember seeing perks in the end screen, but how do I use them? Oh look, cosmetics and a store. Whoa. Seeing all of this, they'll likely get a bit overwhelmed, so they'll spend a bit of BP, likely not understanding the blood web or anything in it too much, but just wanting a bit of an advantage for next time. What can I run? A flashlight? What? The game isn't that dark. And it only lasts 12 seconds of use? What? A toolbox makes sense, with a rag on it. They'll equip some mismatched low-level perks and get back into the game. They've now become a little more comfortable with hearing that terror radius. They still don't really want to get into chases, but they aren't running as soon as they hear it anymore either. They're looking around and being a bit more careful. They also figure out the point of pallets and windows. Before they just thought they were for vaulting and they didn't even realize pallets existed. They'll watch what other players do and then try it out for themselves. And it goes not so well maybe, but hey, they survived 10 seconds longer, not bad. They've seen a few more killers now too, a bit of variety. Sure, it's quite intimidating, but they're getting used to it. This is the stage where through sheer luck or with the help of a more experienced teammate, they manage to escape their first game. They feel exhilarated. Stage 3. These players now feel a bit accomplished. They generally know what they're up against when going into a trial, but there's a few killers they haven't seen yet which will throw them off for sure. It's around this stage that I think most players feel comfortable testing out the game's other role, the killer, where before they might have felt a bit more unsure due to it being a lot more pressure. They look at their options and they probably go for Trapper, seeing as he's the starter character and all over the game's artwork. A safe pick surely. Their first game they probably get pretty rolled, getting a satisfying trap or two, but mostly hearing the sounds of gens popping and flashlights clicking as they struggle to keep up. This is also the stage I think a lot of players decide to go back and try and find what they might have missed. They'll find the tutorial and complete it finally. They'll pick out a few perks they like and try to find out how to unlock ones they've seen other players use. They begin to become acclimated with the game and its systems a bit more. Stage 4. This is the stage they'll try to improve their looping, seeing it's most definitely the stronger strategy over hiding or stealth. They'll try, likely fail a few times, but they'll start to get the hang of it, and will soon learn how to loop some of the easier tiles of the game well. They might have watched some other players too, and will try and go for some trickier actions in game like flashlight saves. On the killer side of things, they'll start to test out a variety of killers and see what works for them. Maybe it's stealth they enjoy, maybe it's traps, maybe it's mobility. They'll find a main. Maybe they like 4King every game, or maybe they care more about fun. For both sides, this player is going through a testing phase. They now know about a lot of stuff in the game and have tried a few different strategies, but now they want to find what works for them. It's this stage too that they might venture out of their comfort zone. They'll try things out and maybe even venture into things like the archives. Maybe they'll read a bit of character lore for the ones they're interested in and try to figure out where to start with the tomes. They'll even pick up a few cosmetics. Stage 5. Stage 5 is the stage where the player begins to feel accomplished in what they've done, and maybe even feel like they're becoming quite good at the game, but then they seem to hit some sort of slump. and all the players around them seem to start getting a lot better too. They begin to struggle once again a bit more and begin facing trickier characters almost every game. It's blights, nurses, Kanekis, Weskers, and so on. It becomes too much, and they decide to start figuring out the most efficient thing to use. Gen speed perks, second chances, exhaustion, whatever else. On the killer side, they feel the same. Things had been going well, but matches just seem to get harder and harder, and the only way they can win is by running stronger perks. They switch off of their main for a stronger option, slow down, anti-heal, and gen regression. What happened? This is a stage of frustration and redefining for the player. They begin to put into question everything they've learned and start searching online for extra help. They start to feel like maybe they should put the game down for a while and play something else, maybe Civilization. Stage 6. This is a stage of misery and complacency for the player. They feel like they're stuck with these toxic metas, feeling forced to run the same perks and builds over and over again. They can never win anymore unless they run the strong stuff or queue with friends. Challenges become annoying and hard to complete. Even with more perks than ever unlocked, they feel like they can't even use them because it's not worth it. Despite all of this though, they finally reach the max rank on both sides. They've got a complete rift, and they've leveled a bunch of characters up now to a couple prestige levels. It was just all so much getting to this point, and the game just doesn't feel balanced. It doesn't feel fair. All that grinding, all that stress, all that money spent on cosmetics, and the feeling like they needed to win. But now it's over. Stage 7. A new day dawns, and after not playing for a whole month, they jump back onto DBD. Things look slightly different, but the game still feels the same. Ranks are reset, things feel fresh, and the pressure feels alleviated. They put back on the fun build they were used to before and maybe try a few others out. Maybe they pick up a killer they always thought looked fun, but never tried because they were weak. They start to rediscover the game in a new light, now that the pressure of achieving anything in particular is gone. They'll look to broader goals that seem like fun to aim for. Maybe try and get P100. Maybe I can try and unlock all the perks. Maybe I can try to master a character. There's so much to do. Sure, it's still nice to win, but it doesn't feel like a necessity anymore. This is a time of rediscovery. Stage 8. The player loads into a trial, and for the first time they face a twins player after racking up 1,000 hours of playtime. The player is discovering so much about the game that they overlooked before. They find out these small secrets about killers and their powers, various perk effects they had no idea about. They feel they truly understand the trials when they enter them. They know the maps, they know all the killers and how to play and counter them. They know how to efficiently loop most tiles and use resources. It all feels like a breeze. They also feel like games are once again becoming easier, and without the need for strong perks, add-ons or killers. They just use whatever they like, and it works out okay most of the time. There are exceptions, sure, but things are mostly fine. The player feels quite accomplished. Jimmy feels quite accomplished. They're even getting close to many of their goals. Their first P100 is close, their perks are largely unlocked, and every character is a decent level. Stage 9. At this stage, they drop in and out of the game more. They still like it a lot, but they know it's also good to always take a break every now and then too. Maybe they struggle a bit because of this. They can't quite name every perk anymore, but they still have an exceptional working knowledge of the game. They can still hop on and play pretty well and do a good job, but it's also not as stressful as it once was. The game feels so familiar to them now that they can get results without trying too much or running anything in particular. They've completed a lot of the tomes, and they've started to just gather BP as it's starting to have no use. They start to consider what else the game could offer. They decide to look into different options, maybe some challenges, maybe a win streak, maybe filling out all the tomes or achievements. After a few thousand hours, it feels like everything is done, but there's still more to go for sure. There's still something to do. There always is. Stage 10. After gathering 3,000 hours in the game, they look back over what they've done. Almost everything now is completed, but they still stick around because there's always another chapter on the horizon. All adepts are done, most tome challenges, they have probably hundreds of cosmetics, perks for everyone, thousands of add-ons, and now the game feels like an old familiar friend. They look back on their journey and see all that they've been through, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens. They've all shaped their experience. experience. Nowadays, it can be a bit of anything. Maybe they kick back and decide to run a silly build or play a weaker killer. Maybe they decide to try hard and go for another win streak. Either or, it doesn't really matter. They just like playing the game and engaging with it. They like to learn random facts, read the lore, learn techs, tips and tricks. Everything builds their knowledge, and even after all this time, there's something to learn. Jimmy is now a seasoned veteran of the game, a master at its systems, and knower of all its knowledge. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.